For my five strategies that I decided to choose, I actually ended up selecting six because a few of them went really well together and I use them interchangeably all the time. But the first one that I'm going to go over is my graphic organizers for writing. And when I do that, I've done 2 writing units with my students so far, and I have uploaded a photo of what I showed as an example for one of them, and then the students' work for the other. And with that, it shows how I organized the writing for the students, and I broke it down between their first, second, third paragraph and their introduction as well. And then with my other writing unit that I did that was a persuasive essay, I broke it down between their introduction, first, second, third paragraph, and their conclusion as well. Because when I did it for my informational paper, I don't think that their conclusion was as strong as it could have been. So I included that in the writing of the graphic organizer for the persuasive unit, and their writing came out significantly better than their conclusions came out significantly better than when they did the informational text. And I've uploaded a photo of that. And then the second thing that I've done is word and picture bank, specifically for our spelling words. I found some really useful picture and word banks online, and I've uploaded one of my favorite ones. It was when we were doing R controlled vowels, specifically AR, and it showed a picture and then the students had to spell them out. So that's really good spelling practice for them, and it also works with their phonics as well, so that's interchangeable, which is really beneficial for them. And I've noticed that since I've started doing that, that my ELLs in the class have benefited a lot from that, as well as I have some of the other students that are struggling a little bit with their spelling. I have them do that as well, and it helps them. And then I do a teacher read aloud. We do this 3 days a week because I read the story all the way through the first time on Monday, and then on Tuesday and Wednesday I break the story up. This is for their EL. I break the story up and we go through it a lot deeper. So then something that goes along well with that is the comprehension checking. So we have 3 days. The first one I just read to them, and then the second and third day I break the story into 2 parts and we really dig into it and ask questions and figure out what's going on, and higher order thinking questions as well, such as we did an Amos and Boris story, which is about a whale and a mouse. And with that, they become friends, and the whale, Amos, saves Boris, or Boris saves Amos from drowning in the sea. And then later down the road, a few years, Boris gets washed up on the shore, and Amos finds elephants to help push him into the ocean, and he saves him. And we talked about how that could be interesting. We talked about the genre with that, and then we also talked about why we think that it's important that Amos was able to help Boris, and what makes a good friend, and if both of them make good friends or just one of them, or if they don't make good friends at all. So we go into those deeper thinking questions, as well as the what's going on in this page, what's happened so far, those kinds of things. And with my ELL students specifically, I always make sure that at least towards the end of the lesson minimum, when everyone else is doing their independent practice, I pull them to the side, and they sit down at a table with me, and so I can work with them and then one of my other students that likes to have some additional help, and we can do a lot of comprehension checks then, and I assist with just scaffolding any assignments that we have for them, because I am in a general education classroom. So that is teacher read aloud and comprehension checks. And then I have who has. I've done it every week for vocabulary during reading, but I included a PDF of the I have who has that I've done with math, and I was really interested to see that helped a lot because it was with shapes, and so there's quite a few long intricate words with that, and I think that has helped the students a lot. And so we do that kind of as a warm-up sometimes whenever they're struggling, just as a review check for them when some of the other students are doing other things. And then I do think, pair, shares. So this is, I know, 6, but with the think, pair, shares, I think that it also goes really well with the I have, who has, because I will have the students work on those independently or with partners, and as well as the read aloud. Whenever I ask a very in-depth question or a higher order thinking question, I always have the students I give them 45 seconds to think, and then I give them 30 seconds each, so 1 minute total, to share with that. So it's pretty quick because it takes about 2 minutes, because it takes them about 15 minutes to start talking with their partners, and it's really beneficial because they can kind of bounce their ideas off of each other. And then to move on to what my uses of WIDA in the classroom are. So I've really tried to incorporate the 4 domains, but the can-do statements I think have been the most beneficial for me, because this is one of the first times that I've worked with ELL students in a general education classroom. I've worked with them in a specific classroom, but this is the first time that I've tried to incorporate them into the classroom, and I've been involved in that. So what I do is, when I go through the can-do descriptors, I do it a minimum of once a week, because that's when I do my major lesson planning. I go through and I look out the week and I figure everything out, and I'll go through the plans and the can-do descriptors with WIDA and figure out what I need to do differently for my ELL students versus my other students, and how I need to scaffold that for them. Because if I look at an activity that I plan on doing with my English speaking students, and then I scale it back for my ELL students based on the levels that they're at, so that they're still interacting with the academic content, however, at a simplified level. So, for example, I use the, what's it called? I use the can-do descriptors specifically a lot with instructions. I always check for my instructions to look at what they need to do, because one of my students is at the level 3 developing level, and another one of my students is at the expanding level, so level 4. So they're going to look a little bit different based on what level they're at. But for example, when they're reading what I've given them for directions, it says that my level 3 student should be able to locate details in content area, texts, and media. So he should be able to locate the information and the details that he needs, but my level 4 student, she's able to classify the main ideas and details in the information and explanatory text. So if I'm explaining something to her or him on paper, I need to make sure that if they only need to locate details, that will work, or if she can classify the main idea, which is usually enough. But sometimes he struggles because he's not quite able to classify those main ideas. He can just find a few details of realizing that he needs to read or he needs to write, but not exactly what he needs to do. So with that, I will sometimes give him simplified directions, but most of the time I will go over and I will incorporate all of the domains, all of the 4 domains. So with him, almost anytime I have directions, I have him read them independently, and then I go over and I have him read them to me. So that incorporates the speaking, and then I read them to him so he can listen to them, and then I have him write them down in his own words. We call it caveman talk, where he only incorporates the very crucial words that are in the instructions. So if I say write down the most important words, he writes on his paper, he says write important word, and that's all that he needs. Or if I say identify the adjectives in the sentence and write it on the line, he will read it, say it, listen to it, and then he will write adjective, line. That's it. And so that way it incorporates all of them. And I understand that the writing is not quite to the level that he needs, but it is extremely beneficial for him. And he's understood the instructions a lot more. And then I also do significant scaffolding with them, because he is only a second year English language learner, which it can be very difficult, but he is very intelligent with it. And he's in 3rd grade, so he's okay. being able to have that independent practice as well as the scaffolding. So a lot of times, as I mentioned before, I have a semicircle table at the front of my classroom, and I go through the directions with all of those students, not just him, so he doesn't feel like he's singled out, but I make all of those students do it. And during testing, because I understand that he's not quite to the level for reading and writing and those types of things, that I read the directions to him every single time, but also to the entire class, because I do think that it is beneficial for them. And then I have them take the test all together at the same time. So it makes those faster students slow down and those slower students take their time, because I don't want them to rush through it. But then if I read it to them and I will explain it in my own words that are a lot more simple, it is a lot more beneficial. And for specifically him, sometimes I will give him pictures of what he needs to be doing to give him additional context, because in his based on his level, that is something that he needs for additional support sometimes, and that can be a great strategy as well. Anyway, thank you.